they will leave no one behind. Politicians, actors, journalists, authors, technocrats, professionals, we will bring them here to make sure that we have a conversation good for the country. Today seems to be one of the most difficult interview here because someone that you know, someone that mentor you, someone that is your mentor. So we are going to flip the coins here this afternoon, this morning, from the East Coast here. Quite interesting. Uh, a legendary interviewer will become the interviewee this morning here, and that is quite interesting. Well, I will do my best. Our relationship, we work in the past, we work with him directly. For full disclosure, it is important that we bring this transparency into context. However, we agree in principle that today's conversation has nothing to do with our relationship in the past and in the present, but to hold all accountable. And I'm quite sure he will be proud if I do what I'm supposed to do, despite what he got him in through the process all these years working with him. At the same time, he understands the profession. So we'll try to keep it in context. Today's conversation, questions, dialogue, he has no idea. But this is what we're going to be talking about. This is a book, Liberty Hijack, the histories of the laws of liberty that divides Liberia. Very loaded documentary, academic work. How long did it take to put this piece together? What led to this book, Liberty Hijack? Is the liberty hijack? What happens to the love of liberty that brought us? Was it hijacked in the interim? These are consequential questions we're going to be asking here this afternoon. Legendary award journalist winner Kai Gerowole worked in government for countless years. I'm not sure whether he has suffered since he came to the States, but we managed to get him out, to hear from him, and what led to this book. He's standing by in the border state of Philadelphia right now. I'm going to be bringing in my special guest. He's my chief. But we signed a status of forces agreement here this evening that we're going to empty all. We're going to undo the chief, the bossman, and all of that back home. And now we are in a free world, and we want to keep that in context. I want you to share this video because we will be having a conversation. You don't know the history of your country. It is important that the history of the country is revealed so you will know the directions of your country and how you're going to do it. Let me go to Philadelphia and bring in, wow, this is a quite interesting one here today. The Liberty Hijack, the histories of how the loss of liberty divides Liberia. Is Liberia still divided today? I have no idea. But we're going to be having a series of conversation here. Time is already going. It's 11:18 here, little after 4 in the West African state of the Republic of Liberia. Let me bring in Minister Kai Gerowole, and we're going to have the conversation. Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Alfonso.
I don't know what. If you can face me, if you can push to your right hand, right or left. No, on the other side. On your left, that would be on the left-hand side. Okay. Yeah, is there a way that you can still adjust yourself? Because I want my cameras and my viewers to capture you well, so that we can have this conversation once and for all. It's overdue, but it's better late than never. Okay. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay. All right. Good morning. And how are you, sir? Minister Kai Gerowole, author Liberty Hijack. Good morning from the ocean state of Rhode Island here this morning.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure joining your program this morning. I'm grateful to you, and I'm grateful to all of our listeners and all those who are watching us. I'm grateful to the Sky FM and the Sky Television in Monrovia. It is a pleasure being here to dialogue with our people, to discuss the history or how the loss of liberty continues to divide Liberia.
Did I hear you saying the loss of liberty continues to divide Liberia?
Indeed.
Okay, all right. It would be insane to ask for introduction, but as you know, the country, the society has evolved significantly. So let me give you the opportunity. I cannot draw the conclusion. Everybody out there or viewers, listener knows who is Ty Gerald. So let me be say magnanimous. So that I will know, because if there's anything left out, I think I'm at liberty to add that piece as well. So let me give you the opportunity, Mr. Red, to introduce yourself.
I come from a very poor background. I grew up in the village of Sanquin. And my background directed me to write Liberty Hijack. I lived both in the settlers' family and the native families. And so if I travel to Greenville, my friends will call me the boy from Sanquin. They will call me Willett. When I go to Greenville, I'm called Roberts, because my parents lived with the Roberts, my dad. And so I saw the contradictions that divided the settlers and the indigenous population. I lived through it. In our town in Sanquin, the only person with electricity was the late James Edward Green. The rest of the folks were in darkness. I saw the contradiction of poverty. I started working at the age of 17. That taught me the dignity of work. I started living on my own when I was in the 7th grade in Zwedru. And I was the only kid working after school. But what I bring here, Alfonso, is not the suffering that I endure. It's not the suffering that I experience. But people helped me along the way to succeed. When I was in Zwedru, I was by myself. But I had my uncle Amos Davis Tappet, who was guiding me. My sister Sarah was there guiding me. When I was at Bishop Junior High School, people helped me. I got a scholarship for the American woman in Liberia. I got a scholarship from the Peace Corps in Liberia. I got a scholarship from Bishop Francis of the Catholic Church. And I received a quality Catholic education that I'm proud of today. It is through that my experience going to the University of Liberia. In high school, I was in student politics. 7 years vice president of my student council. 7 years acting president of my student council. I was one of the few kids who reactivated the Liberian National Student Union LSU in 1979 at the Cottington University campus. We elected now Senator Kwame Wise as our president. I was very active in student politics at the University of Liberia because I saw the need for change. I joined the movement for justice in Africa, Moja, because I wanted to see change. I helped to form the Liberian People's Party because we want to change. I serve government because we want to change. But the first of what I've seen is that we have always identified the problem facing Liberia, but we have not taken steps to solve the problem. I cannot agree with President Todwa more. I have several disagreements with the late President Todwa. But I agree a diagnosis that illiteracy, but I will not use the word illiteracy in the sense that President Todwa will use it. I will call it a lack of awareness that kept Liberia down. We took things for granted. But now, Alfonso, my role now as an adult is to solve the problem facing our people, to bring back our history, to bring the missing pieces in our history, and move our country forward in a way that the divide in our country did not start today. It started with the founding of the Liberian nation that we'll discuss soon. But I have a solid background. My first job I got in government in 1980 was given to me by a decent young man at the time, but he was an elder, ex-Blazotue, that gentleman from Nima County. Gave me my first job in 1980 and prevailed on me to go to school. That if you don't go to school, I will fire you. I told him I prepared to go to school. I was happy Blazo saw me receiving college degrees. Visited him. Knowing him was in the United States. There were those who helped me along the way, to which I remain grateful. My own dad, to whom I dedicated this book, Jesse Kaiwule Roberts, who received no formal education, but sent me to the best of schools. The best of schools that money can buy. The first public school I attended was the University of Liberia. Dad wanted me to go to Cottington, but I preferred the university because I wanted to get in politics. I wanted to discuss what keeping our country down and how I can help. And in that vision, Alfonso, the contradiction in our country, the hidden history of our country, the deception that have been taught in our schools. For so long, we have not corrected that. It represents the laws of liberty. But the laws of liberty is what keep us divided. The book is not intended to divide Liberia. The book is intended to unite Liberia, that we discuss in the disco. Thank you.
Well, folks, there you have it. I am Alfonso Zienso, the chief angered the Liberian war today. And the essence of this program, we told you from the onset, we want to say a big thank you to our sister network, Sky Communications Incorporated in Liberia. This is our program that intends to dissect, that will leave no one behind, bring in authors, journalists, professionals, technocrats. And today, I am privileged to have someone that I work with directly in his office. I don't know why he didn't go there. He worked numerous of years in government, and he found himself here. He is a journalist, award-winning journalist, Kai Joraway. What Minister Ure, if you were to call you, thank you so much. Also managing editor of the African Star newspaper right here, the only online print media here in the USA. Thank you so much. Diligence Communications Chief Consultant. Thank you so much. Let's have a conversation here. Again, I'd like to hear from the house's mouth. This is your book, Liberty Hijack, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I've been going through this book here, and it's quite interesting. I'm a free thinker, and there are many free thinkers out there. Some see it as being divisive, but then I got caught up in the shadow again. History is all about the past and the future. So that sort of contradiction is little bit difficult. So let's start with this here. What led to the writing of this book? Some may say, wait a minute, what is Minister Ray or what is Kai Ray telling us? Why is he taking us back here? And there are other people who have their own interpretation of many things we're going to get today. But how was this title of this book originated and why?
Based on my research, Alfonso, I was in government. Before I joined government, I was in journalism with a standard newspaper. Chia Chipo gave me an opportunity to be on editorial team of the standard newspaper. I was working as a cadet at the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications. And at the University of Liberia, I began to see the contradiction between the have and the have not. They have more than one more. But it was not sufficient to just talk. It is sufficient to document and solve the problem. So, but to do that, I needed access to information and resources. I wrote a story in the Sun-Times newspaper and an editorial that Rufus Mama Dapo, my journalistic mentor, may his soul rest in peace, gave me an opportunity to learn how to write editorials. And we have covered a story at BWI, where the student attempted to hold the vice president by a coat. They were on strike. Vice President Money by then. May so rest in peace. I filed the story from Kakata. And Rufus asked me to return to Monrovia in a charter taxi with my late friend, Thomas Nimlin, who was on my team. He asked me to do an editorial. I did the editorial. Few days after, I received a message through Honorable William Glay that President Doe would like to see me.
That's the former, not to interrupt, the former representative of Grand
Representative of Grand Gila County. I've not seen Doe personally. And before that, I also went to the executive mansion to cover that story for Sun Times. And I raised the question with President Doe. The Sangia University in Grand Cayman County was Doe project. And I traveled to Cayman to cover stories. But the university college project was then abandoned. Grass grew all over the place. And I raised the question with the president. If the project in Grand Cayman County for education was abandoned, the president feared very furious. And when I do let's see where we can take you to Grand Cayman County to find out the project is not in place. Days after, Mr. Glay emphasized, President Glay at the time emphasized that the president wanted to see me. I have been thinking of writing a book on Liberia, on the contradictions on Liberia. I started a book, Alfonso, with slave trade. I tried to challenge A. Doris Banks Harris and the history we learn in our country. But I needed testimony, I needed documentations that were not available in most of our libraries, that were available in government offices, because my experience at the Ministry of Posts, as you indicated. I served as chief of staff with 3 ministers in 3 administrations. My strength is to do research. I will read nearly every photo in the Ministry of Posts, in the minister's office, reading about what other ministers did, how they transacted, how other bureau did, how they transacted, how other sections did. So it gave me a lot of information, but I wanted information on the American Colonization Society.
Why?
I wanted to know, because I wanted to know the history. How did this country come about? The historian will not tell us. And in my research, Alfonso, I've tried to find out, to know the root of the country. Because Alfonso, the folks will say, it was few of all that graduated with a minor in philosophy at the University of Liberia. It was me, it was my late friend, Elizana Kulu. But I wanted to know my awareness. So when I went to the executive mansion and met the late Yase Peter Flag, Ms. McGray has already, the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs.
Presidential, correct. Okay.
Mr. Glay has gone to the president's office to announce I was there. So the president called me in, and Mr. Fla said, I don't think you're in trouble. But I've consulted I always consult, Mabudu Nyipa, that I went to the executive mansion. And I could tell my dad when I go to jail that he will come and bail me out, if possible, to make some noise. So I left my Buddha at the university and went to Mr. Glay. Mr. Glay introduced me to President Doe. President Doe said, I told you where he was the back of Matthews. I like your writing style. I like the way you write.
That was the last Samuel Doe.
The last Samuel Doe. I said, thank you, Mr. President. He wanted to know my background. I told him I grew up in Zwedru and attended the Arab B. Richardson Baptist Junior High School. I told him boastfully that I do the school, knowing that President Doe himself graduated from the school. He said, if I were in the school, you're not going to do the school. I said, I agree.
That helped to stabilize the conversation.
Yes, to stabilize, because I said, I agree. He said, did you play football? I said, no, I did not play football. I was part of student politics. And he asked, I want you to help my team to be my speechwriter. I said, Mr. President, that's a big job. He asked me what I was doing at the Ministry of Posts. I said, I was a cadet, just getting in there. He said, I just said Maurice Dugley in there. I want you to work with Dugley. What are you doing? I said, with sometimes. He said, we need you. And then when I came out, I was like, I can't accept this. I consulted Mambutu. and I went to San Quentin to see my dad. My dad said it would be an opportunity. They always try to join government. And I told my Butu, my dad, I was meeting my independence. What's the way it calls I was meeting my independence? And I felt also it was an opportunity to give the student perspective. Because people did not understand the student struggle. And there have been no one to understand that those of us were sleeping in 3-bedroom house, sharing a bedroom house with 3 friends. Elijah Rue Bell, working every day. How working at the Ministry of Posts, Alfonso, making $50, $100 a month. The same downside, upside you're talking about here, it happened in 1980. My salary was reduced from $100 to $40. But I did not resign. I said it was a call to work in government. Now that calling has come. I'll be part of the president's speech writing team. That gave me access. That gave me access to information I wanted, to interview people I wanted.
That was your ultimate goal?
Yes, to get access.
To do what?
I decided to avoid conflict of interest.
I
told Sylvester Grisby, I resigned from sometimes to focus on government. And that's how I got to know Moransi. Because I've read The Law of Liberty by Tuan Ray. And one of the things my folks in Moja taught me was to read critical literatures. And I'm proud that I was part of Moja. Reading critical literature and discussing them at the highest level. Interacting and acting with the authors. Karl Marx, The Capital. We discussed all of that. The Green Book from Gaddafi. We were reading those literatures not because we want to be socialists, but we're reading the literature to increase our understanding and to challenge. So in government, then I was able to meet Moransi, who heard that I'll be part of the free writing team, the then Minister of State for Presidential Affairs and Senator. He sent for me through my friend David Tutte, who was Director General Ministry at the Post and Telecommunication Ministry. I went to the Omen's house. He asked me what I decided to accept to do a volunteer speech writing thing for President Doe. Why was I Minister of Post? I said I'm trying to write my own book myself. And I wanted information. So we discussed. And I told him the role he played in the Taliban regime. I read The Law of Liberty. I read everything. But I wanted to read my own book. The old man was impressed. He opened a library to me. He said, this is the library.
Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished right there.
Yes, mission accomplished. I access. Some of the documents I used in this book. I have access. And I told the old man I wanted to write a book. He said, I will help you all the way. When I told Mr. Glade, Henry Glade, William Glade, he said, I will sponsor the book if you decide to write it.
Let me hold you right there. I have to interrupt. I will sponsor. He's a politician. Was there any specific favor he was asking you to do in putting this book together?
No. Because what did happen was, Glade had been my friend from Grangida. And the first one, as you know me, if you read the book is an academic work. It's not a book that influenced by people. Mr. Glade did not even know what the title of the book would have been. I wanted to first get the information. And so I began to get the Tolman papers. But that came later when I came to the United States. I spent 10 years in Washington, D.C. researching at the Library of Congress, the Howard University Library, the American University Library. And I was able to get more information on the American Colonization Society, their annual reports. That's what I wanted, that I did not get from my Omen Rassi. The annual report, Alfonso, on chapter 2, will tell you, if you look at the tragedy of slavery, slave was not a trade. Some writers want to portray the inhumane act of slavery as a trade. I disagree with that book.
Others see it as a freedom.
It's not a freedom. If that was a freedom, my philosophy teacher told me, that which is good all the time. If slave trade was a better trade, why is that practiced today?
So then Minister Ray, how can you counteract the point of those who also see that as a redemption by extensions of our own country, your country, Republic of Liberia?
Here's what happened. If you read chapter 2, at the 1818, the population of black people in the United States, ex-enslaved people, I don't call them slave, I use the word ex-enslaved people, has escalated.
Why?
Because there's meaning to call them slaves. They were enslaved. We are using the first person projection. I'm not defining them by their tragedy. I'm not going to call someone that guy with TB, that guy with cancer. So the goal of the AC, of the American Colonization Society, when they met, was to take all black people, those who have no skills, to Africa, because they consider them nuisance. Read chapter 2, the repatriation movement. But when they get to understand that some churches were opposing the war of removing black people, even though it's in the preamble, they said we want to take black people to Africa to have a better way of life. So they were able to convince the American government for aid. But those who were on the board of the American Colonization Society were ex-slave owners. And the free slaves, the free enslaved people, were not informed of their rights to honor remain. If you read chapter 3, those and the anti-slave movement forced them to remain in the United States. Then they go to a country that they know no one. They know no man in Africa. But they begin to forge their names and signatures in their own annual reports. I said, oh, yes, I see what I'm looking for. Then I begin to see the contradiction between that and what A. Doris Banks Henry provided us. That you and I learned when we were in school. They were not correct. In addition to that, the Christian movement injected itself in it. That by going to Africa, we would then create a room to Christianize the non-Christians.
So let's have a little bit of conversation here. All these, were they the creations of the ACS?
Yes. The ACS was a non-profit.
Why nobody raised a question, nobody put their finger up to say, wait a minute, something is not right. Who were manipulated in that process?
The ACS presented itself as the humanitarian organization that would take care of the African people, like the NGOs we have today. They created the NGOs to benefit themselves and promote their agendas. Haven't you all checked on the NGOs in Liberia? What do they do there? What are their purpose? Because of our lack of awareness, we could not question. We lack awareness. And those who are aware were afraid. I passed the book through 3 professors who taught me. Why didn't you tell us that the slavery was not good for us? That our people did not sell their own people voluntarily? Why didn't you tell us that the ACL role was not obey the state, but they enrich themselves? Why didn't you tell us that those who were brought to Africa were not informed of their rights to remain in the United States? Why didn't you tell us that a chief boatswain did not sell land? The Land Act of 1804 that you read on chapter 5. Let's assume that chief boatswain sold the land, Alfonso, on Bushro Island, or whatever you call it, Chevron Island, or whatever, Monrovia, Cape Monserrado, whatever the case is. The chief boatswain sold the land in my village in San Quentin.
What's the answer to that?
Did they sell my land in Fupadi? That's not true. Because chief boatswain was not a chief in San Quentin. Chief boatswain did not own the whole of Liberia. So how did they get hold of the land? That caused the problem. But before I come to that, the laws of liberty started when they arrived in Liberia, the country now called Liberia. If you read the preamble, they say, we from the United States formed the nation. They were not inclusive. If chief boatswain sold the land, Alfonso, In land law, as a student of law, if I sold a land to you, you decide to develop that land, you will call the neighbors who own land around that area to come and bring their deeds to make sure I'm not including on the land. But they declared a state without inviting Chief Boswell. They were not smart. They declared a state without inviting Bob Gray. Banks Henry did not tell us that Boswell were dead.
So let me stop you a little bit. All of these actions, were they calculated? Were there something that they were doing intentionally or what?
Indeed.
In your research, what did you find out?
If you look at the book, you see a typewriter. I want you to show the book up there and see. You see a typewriter on the face of the book. There's a typewriter.
This is a book.
It's intentional. Everything they did was written documents. That's how we got it. They wrote it. They created an imaginary material nipple who used a fire code to kill thousands of natives. But there's no context. What were the natives doing there? Thousands. There were 3,000. There were 3,000. Yes, there were 3,000 settlers in Liberia at the time. So how would they would kill thousands of natives? Thousands. Where did they come from? What were they doing in Monrovia? But we'll come back to that. The full estate that negated America. America is bad. The slave trade in America bad. They pay taxes. They never got, read chapter 3 and 4. They never got any benefits from America. So they found the full estate to be inclusive. But in the preamble they have, they take the resources for themselves. You are now saying you found the full country for all. But you did not invite Chief Boswell. You did not invite Bob Gray, who sold the land to you as part of the state. They were never a member of the cabinet. They were a member of the Interior Department. So you say boss it. But the man who you sent to negotiate, we ask ourselves, what language were used in that trade? The native could not speak English, so how did he buy the land from them?
So let's take a little bit break here. This is quite fascinating. I'm still reeling it, and no one can perfectly give interpretations of what happened then and seeing what is happening now. In your research, based on all these narratives that you are providing, do you strongly believe the liberty was hijacked?
Indeed. You tried to fund a law for liberty for all, but you had it for the few. Even the people who call the Concord people today, I don't call them Concord. They were the recaptured enslaved people that were brought to Liberia by U.S. Navy personnel after the end of slave trade.
So how that war was tweeted or reconstructed?
Because we are not aware that we use the derogatory names to depict certain class of people, play on their tragedy and sufferings, which is wrong. In that book, I did not use Concord people. I use settlers. Because we came from somewhere.
Including yourself?
Including myself. And I'm using editorial we in that book. Not day again. Because I'm giving objective analysis. The laws of liberty. Where did it go? Where did it go? How did our people get left out? But that's also the most interesting part of laws of liberty. They say they bought the land, right? Mm-hmm. In 1850, they passed the Land Act that made all tribal land settlers' land. So if you bought all the land in Liberia, in the country for you, why pass a law to say all tribal lands in the interior belong to you? The country will be for you, right?
Minister Kaijo, let's take a quick break to get a glass of water. This is getting to be more interesting, and we will hope to tap in your expertise to go series by series to give a connection to our audience. Let's take a break. I am Afonso Zienso. This is the Liberian War today, going much deeper into the history and discussing with the author, the Liberty Hijack, the histories of how the laws of liberty devised Liberia. We will be right back. I'm Alfonso Ziansot of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv, talking to someone who is a mentor, but we agree on principles and knowing the rule of the game that we're going to have an honest and ask some inside or outside that question here, if you will. Let me bring in our special guest here. He's a former minister, and let's see here. Let me bring in Minister. Let's digress here a little bit. More or less, I know you. Let me make a full disclosure. I have said it over and over and over. I work with the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications directly to honor your rule. And let's insert some little humanity into this here. And like you alluded, Maxwell Kaba, former Speaker Maurice Duclé, Roosevelt JJ, all of these people. Usually, and not in all cases, when a minister proper coming in, more or less they feel confident in breaking somebody who will handle their document. Because when you work as a chief of staff or special assistant, literally all documentation coming through that ministry is going to have a revision. Why Kai Gerald was maintained on a 3-4 ministers and at that ministry? What was the reason?
At first, it come from my training and background. My dad always reminded me that when you are given a job, do it well. Don't look at what other person will be doing. Don't look for their job. When I was director of public affairs and helping with the free writing of Samuel Doe, my role was to put into my comments into the speeches. When I was chief of staff, Roosevelt JJ is one of the nicest guys I ever saw. He was not only a boss, but he was a friend. Very intellectual. He and I worked with Maurice Duclé. He was chief of staff when I was director of public affairs. When the first Civil War broke out, I went on the ground. When I surfaced at the Ministry of Post after a year, he practically had me on his back and said, Kai, I want you to help me. I want you to be my chief of staff. I have never loved it for jobs, Alfonso. I let my expertise to speak for itself. I told Roosevelt we'll work together. When Roosevelt left, we worked very well. He was a detail-oriented guy. And we are staying in contacts. I delivered a copy of my book.
Let me remind you, because I was there, and sometime we let out, but we were still taking notes. There was a code named Prospect, right?
Yeah, Prospect.
Prospect.
The Prospect name was my code name, my radio name. Because the prosperity I brought to the ministry. I started as a kid at making $40 a month as an office boy. To that level. It required resilience. And I want to remind also Nathaniel P., who was my immediate boss in the international bureau then, before you guys came in. Emma Wissett. They trained me to say, you need to look for the best in the team to mentor people who will replace you. That reminded me a government job is like a passing water. You will step in it, but you will not see it anymore. You serve your time and you leave. And so when Afro B. Corey came, when the government changed, Omen Kai Fadi, my father's personal friend, my uncle, may his soul rest in peace. I interviewed him for this book. He came to me and said, Kai, the government has changed. What are your plans? I said, I want to return to the media. I want to go have my folks revitalize the Sunshine newspaper. I want to be the managing editor. He said, no, I want you to help Afro Cody. I said, I don't know him. He took me to Cody's house. And Cody said, I heard much of you. I want you to work with me. I'm an engineer, but I don't know the ministry well. I'd agreed. On principle that I'm serving my country. It's a calling. When Cody time ended and the state of government came in, I wanted to return to the media. I was hungry to go to the media because I wanted to write my book. And the only place that gave me access to write my book is to be a journalist.
Writing a book, do you feel at the time then information needed to unveil to get to the public you already had in your hand?
I had it in hand, but I wanted confirmations.
From whom?
I did not want only to get documents from John Ramsey and write a book on it. I want to read other libraries. Travel around and read. and counter-check. Because that's what I learned in Catholic school. You don't just use one source and write a book.
At
And
least
you
the profession,
yes.
call for at least 3 sources.
Yes. So I never wanted to talk to one source, like sometimes, to read a story or editorial. Like what I'm doing African Style today. I want to put a story in context. Not wanted to quote John Ramsey. So John Ramsey books or document gave me were fake. That I'll be discredited. Especially when I joined the government as an opposition from Moja. So when Master Kabak came, a young man, Dr. Toa, William Toa, was at NRC. He invited me. He said, Kyle, I know the government has changed. I said, yeah, but I want to go back to something.
Plan?
What are your plans? I said, I want to go to revitalize sometimes that I'm not able to do up to this point. I love sometimes. Rufus Dapo trained me sometimes. I love their writing. And that influenced my writing style today. Rufus Dapo. That genuine journalist. May his soul rest in peace. He said, but Kyle, I want you to have Master Kabak. He's coming in as minister.
Why were they just calling on you for such a continuity to help?
Because they see me as being genuine. I serve people not because I want to serve them to be a sycophant. I serve them diligently. When I was serving Morris Douglas, I would not go to bed until 2, 3 o'clock. He said, workaholic. We'll walk around the clock. That's how we created the expedited mail service, the EMS. And I was a consultant. I was counterpart consultant to the post of coal you see in Liberia today. Someone said, what did you do at the Ministry of Post? We left the post of coal. We left the EMS, the expedited mail service. We left institutional mail delivery service. We revitalized the post office after the war with Roosevelt JJ. We travel around the world. We don't write history, Alfonso. So people don't know what other people have done. But my working style, Alfonso, is not to brag of what I've done in government. People see what I've done. So I stay on with Master Kabak. And I fled the country.
Stay on with Master Kabak. You reminded me of a lot of things here, and we need to bring them out here. It's almost like having an interview with Bob Woodward here. Stay on with. And I remember the day of Master Kabak, we knew the kind of government it was. One of these days, remember when then Chucky Ben Hill, when he came and bust through the door. Usually, you go through the chief of staff or special assistant, but that position, I believe, was on Taylor. And Chucky said, you know what? And the buildings, everybody went here to scatter. At that time, let's take a little bit retrospect. Was there anything clicking your mind to say, you know what, I'm leaving, I gotta leave? Was there anything? Because the roof was literally on fire. Because I was there and I saw how Chucky Taylor entered that premises and everybody just used his foot to enter the minister's office. That was unusual.
Alfonso, in government, I try to hold my emotions. One thing I learned, Alfonso, that grew me up is my spirituality. That I don't show much. I love my God. He guides me through the November 12th. He guided me through the April 6th. He guided me through to escape the invasion of the MPFL MPP on Ken Johnson Road. So I did not see Chucky as a problem for me. I saw Chucky as a problem for the government. That the likes of Chucky will lead the country to fail. When I decided to join Master Kabak, I knew he was not from my party. He was from the NPP. But I understand their way of doing things, they will be maybe rehabilitated. So I went on road to train Chucky how to behave. So when Master left, and I said, Master, if that's how your ministry will be run, it will be fine with you guys. Because there are times when you reach your zenith and you feel your life is more important than anything else. My parents were murdered by the NPFL. But I took the courage to work in the NPFL government.
Why?
Because of the call for actions on our state. My pains were lesser than the pains other people face. It is the nation we have, Alfonso. The love for country. Worth it. It is our country. When we don't participate,
some little bit
create a vacuum.
Some little bit emotion is coming into this here. The love for our country. Is that love of the country, is it being upheld today?
Yes, indeed. And first, if you read the book, our country is defined by 1% of the population. Read the laws of liberty. By 1% of the population. They are corrupt. Corrupt people perform 1% of our population. But when you talk to investors, say Liberia is corrupt. But Liberians are resilient people. The people eat Bubba John, have no food to eat, but they have smiles on their faces on Sunday to go to church. The love for country, Alfonso, is what led me to write this book. I want to put myself on record that for so long we have identified the problems in our country, but we are not taking any action.
We are not taking, up to this point?
The division in our country has not been resolved. It's been micromanaged as a political theater. We can't do that to our country.
There's no way you are politicians, you work in government, so more or less politically you are inclined. And there was a reference you made within the 1955 elections, seems to be recapping today. Does that equip with this? The 1955?
Yes, Alfonso. Up to now, let me start. The 1850 law that gave tribal land to the settlers. That same law, Alfonso, banned natives from traveling from one village to another. The only group that took time to violate that were the crew, the Crown, and our colleagues in Nima. They banned the people.
Yeah, okay, hold on 1 second. Somebody is checking. Yes, Yvonne, the book is available on Amazon. The book is available on Amazon. Just go there and type in Liberty Hijack, the history of how the loss of liberty divides Liberia. This book is loaded with information. It will make you to know your country. I'm telling you. I don't usually say it, but this is the book. I see here, Liberty Hijack. Just go to Amazon. It's the bestseller right now. Go to Amazon. You can get a very cheap. If you are within the New England belt, you can also reach me as well. But you can get that on Amazon. Yeah, go ahead, Minister.
And so, Alfonso, what we have done to ourselves is the lack of awareness. The 1850 law that gave tribal land to the settlers, that law has not been repealed.
Why?
Lack of awareness. Our ability to know. We are good at criticizing people, Alfonso, in our country. We're not good at solving problems. And I believe those of us in the public sector, in the private sector, people ask me looking for a job. You don't reach 60 years old and look for a job. You don't reach 60 years old and look for a job, Alfonso.
Okay, Ty, hold on 1 second. Let's see. This is quite fascinating. Okay, let's put in. We're going to be having a series of conversations with him as we go on. Let me bring in Minister Ray. Yeah, go ahead.
So you don't get 60-year-old and look for a job. You solve problems. The 1955 elections that the opposition lost to William V.S. Tubman, it simply reacted.
Explain.
Read the book. The opposition served in previous governments. And the past policies and laws that were detrimental to the people. They made Tubman a demagogue. Then they turned around. We say we formed the Reformation Party. They formed the independent two-wing party to oppose Tubman. Because they were waiting for elections. So what you call the right people and say political leaders? It's no opposition. It's fake.
So hold on. let me hold you right there. You're bringing us into reality.
Yes.
And I've been wondering how this term political leader was coined. It means from the 1955.
Yes. The opposition had the Senate bearer is not a job. The people who run the political parties are the political operatives, the chairman, the secretary general. So that man was elected as Senate bearer of the party. He lost the election. The election was very corrupt. Very corrupt. Read the book. So they begin to call it Coleman political leader. How? Who are you leading? So when you see people calling themselves political leader, it's not a job. Party leaders are the chair, vice chair, who go to work every day and run the affairs of the political institution. You are a candidate for election. When the election over, you're no longer a candidate.
So let's stop there a little bit and have a conversation. You're a politician as well.
Yes.
If we hear folks now today saying political leader, what are they projecting?
Nothing. What do they do? What is their role? What do they do? What do they do? Define them. Ask them. You journalists are not doing. If you read the book, you see the role of the journalists in the 1955 elections. There's the same thing happening today. People are planted in the media to misinform the public.
By politicians?
By politicians. By special interests. Because our people lack the awareness. Listen to talk show programs. People get on talk show programs who have not made research on the issue. They give their opinions as if they are facts. They mislead. Because we have a population that is not informed. It is our responsibility, Alfonso, to inform our people. Because, as one guest speaker at the University of Liberia once said, with my blood in the tail, he said we have universities in Africa, but we have not had African universities. I learned to get attributions, so I not be charged with plagiarism. That is the idea. We have schools in Liberia. We are not have Liberian schools. We are the only country in the world thus far, created 1847, that does not teach Liberian studies in our schools. Go look at the curriculum of the University of Liberia. There's nothing somebody say I major in Liberian studies. I major in Liberian studies, any of the community colleges. Zero. Nobody major in Liberian culture. Nobody major in Liberian designs. So we have foreign universities planted in Liberia, teaching bourgeois education. If you ask a kid what happened in Southwest, he doesn't know.
There are ordinary people listening out there, bourgeois educations. Let's simplify that.
These are people who want to influence you. They come with a bigotry, with their degrees, who have people who have been teaching at universities for the last 50 years. They have not even written a single book that they will teach. Go to Ghana, for example. I was in Ghana, and I was impressed. Folks are reading and writing and teaching the books they read and wrote. We are teaching books written by non-Liberians who do not even understand the Liberian culture. So we need a new Liberian problem-solving approach.
When are we going to get it?
To have the lack of us to write Liberian books and correct history. I want to be working with my friends. A professor called me. God, I want to write a geography on Liberia. I said, you are on board. I will help you. We have the resources where we are. Liberia has the most educated people today than 1955. We have the problem-solving skills today than 1955. But we need to graduate from the laws of liberty to the law for liberty for all. The book is not intended to divide our people. The book is intended to provide a prescription. Unfortunately, I'm only 7 master's degrees I hold. I hold a master's in public health with emphasis in health promotion. I have a master's degree in applied behavior analysis, the meta state. What makes people to behave the way they behave? Our problem has been the lack of information. Our educational system is backward. We can't only talk about it. We can take action. We can do that from the private sector. People should not wait for government job to change lives. Government job is for service.
How can you to navigate through this point, too, Minister Reds? Government is a higher employer in our country. You work in government. I work in government. We see it. So how can government subsidize outside private institutions to create a job opportunity?
Alfonso, I'm proud of my friend Martin Brown. I'm proud of you. You work at the Ministry of Post. You don't work there anymore. I work at the Ministry of Post for the last 25 years. I'm not at the Ministry of Post. I'm doing well. Martin was working for ERBC. He worked for Duke Radio. I know that because I get the license for Duke Radio when I was at the ministry. Now he has his own network. He's creating jobs. You see what I'm saying? So government constitutes less than 500,000 people. We're a country of 5 million people, according to the last statistics. So each of us, Alfonso, will invest in education. The government will follow. But we want to wait. If each of us will do like what the Ghanaians, Nigerians are doing, you leave government, you go to the classroom to go teach. We will impact the teacher shortage in our country will reduce. I have done reaching to some friends here in the United States, to reach to some universities and colleges in Liberia. We can sponsor an online education for you.
Are you, okay, we're going to hold you accountable of things that you say.
Yes.
If the University of Liberia, which of course you are a product, that's another way of giving back to your country. If you were they reach out to you today and say, okay, you don't have to come yet. The whole world is on a digital network to help us in lectures and classes. Will you unveil yourself to that?
I'm available, Alfonso. I've been reaching out. I don't need anybody to pay me. At my age, I'm successful. I must get back. I hold over 4 master degrees. I can teach over 4 courses free of charge. And I can encourage some of our friends. And so what we need to do is to break the laws of liberty. And our emphasis must be love for country. If you love your country, Alfonso, you will do nothing to harm the country. But we talk the most negative thing about our country because we are in the United States. The folks in the United States fought to maintain the union. So we are here with Bar Muff in Liberia. It's a correct country. They are friends I have. I don't want to bother with that Liberia. You hear that? Because you are in the United States. We need to bother with our country because the sunset we have here.
They said to what other people on the other side will say, what there's a freedom that people can speak their mind.
No, I'm not saying people don't have freedom.
Is that sanctioning their freedom as well?
No, I'm not asking for freedom. I'm saying it bothers me to be another person in this country and talk negative about our country. When you leave Liberia, you know the difference of having a country.
Let's put it into context here. What do you consider negative?
I can't bother with Liberia. Liberia is corrupt. So if Liberia is corrupt, what are you doing with it? We're in the private sector. If we teach our children to be aware, if somebody say you came my mind, you came my power, I will vote for you. As a journalist and a mental health professional, that person has simply a trauma. He's not well. We don't question. We accept. But then we stigmatize the victims. People who say, I vote for you, came my mind, came my power. They have simply mental health. Sanction or no sanction, we will vote for you. They have mental health. Simply a mental health. They need treatment. They need to be diagnosed. To build their self-efficacy, their self-importance. Nobody say elections matters to you. Somebody just went to jail here in Philadelphia for trying to engage in election fraud. So a man who knows their self-efficacy will not run behind somebody for the bag of rice. Our media has been doing a dangerous job. The 1955 is in the book. People are elected without a platform. And they come out of our program. We don't ask them, why do you want to be president? You say millionaire, right? Why don't open a factory? Why don't create a job? Why fold your hands until you become president? Why isn't the president that you want? Why don't go teach?
They say they want to serve their country.
You can serve your country in the private sector by creating jobs. The president said one job among 5 million people. So among 5 million people, that's the only job you have, but you say you have money. I'm impressed from somebody, a lady that I saw on the internet. She got a degree in business management at University of Liberia. But she was facing color. And she posted and said, I could not find a job after I graduated from LU 4 years ago. She called her friends in the United States. They said, I want to do business. Give me $300. The friends sent the $300 reluctantly. That they think she's going to be on the internet with new clothes. They now is having about 5 tables in Monrovia selling color. And she said, I want for the next 10 years to supply color to the whole of Monrovia.
So there's a set goal right there.
That's a set goal. So we must be able to help our country to realize themselves. As a Liberian came to what is the history of Liberia? Is it Liberia, America? What is history? So what we need, Alfonso, is an inclusive history. Let's come back to the book. An inclusive history. What we have now is an integrated history. Let me give you the difference. You already have your radio station. Zekai will come and join from African Star, even though we stay working with you. Come and join, let's merge. But you can't hold this job, 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 you can only give you this. You are integrating me. But when inclusive, the doors are open. Fill yourself in. Let's see the expertise you bring, the expertise we bring. What are you doing with Star Radio right now? So we must teach our people education. Because, for example, Alfonso, we are teaching our kids to be honest. Our educational system has been practicing dishonesty. And people say, Kai, you're not getting a job. I'm not looking for a job. We talk too much. We must solve the problem in Liberia. We have the ability to do so. We have the resources to do so. We must start complaining. We complain from one administration to another. When they put us there, we do the worst. Because we are not reading. If our people were reading, they would have reversed or amended the 1850 law. There's a 1902 law in the books that may criticize a government official an offense. There's a decree 88A on the books.
They're still there.
It's still there. People suffer on a decree 88 on some your door. That'll be another topic for another discussion.
Another day.
But my friend Joe Murray used that book, that law, to suppress the press. They so rest in peace. Why are we not looking at the laws?
So it seems to me, hearing what I'm hearing and going through this book here, this liberty we all profess and people think the love of liberty brought us here. There was a real compromise. It was hijacked in the process. And we didn't know because we were not going beyond the borderline to find out.
We are not aware. So if we are aware, Alfonso, the media will ask questions. What do you bring on the table? So when we close, that today, Alfonso, I just talked about plagiarism. My junior high school teacher, Fede Green, who was Nani's Vedro, and I'm proud of him. My high school teacher, Sister Petra Linda, Sister Pat, I call that name. They told me, Kai, when you write anything, that was in 1976, and that was in 1980, over 30 years ago. If you write anything that you take anybody's material, get attribution. You must get a person credit. Rufus Dapper will stress it. When you write a story, quote the person who said it. If possible, you can get a recording, do so. Don't take somebody's material and say it's yours. Since 1847, Alfonso, we are using the Pledge of Allegiance of the United States.
Is that wrong?
It's a plagiarism. It's not wrong to use the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance. The next 4 rounds, they put the two of them side by side. They both read it. The Pledge of Allegiance of the United States. We took the eagle in America and put Liberia there. We have not told our children that the Pledge of Allegiance that you are reciting is copied from the United States, and Liberia decided to use it. That's attribution. That's full note. What is wrong with teaching it? What is wrong with putting the full note? If you say that, is that division? What is wrong? That our flag represents the United States flag with our people that came here were illiterate. They were not amount of smart people that they sent to Africa. So they could not even face flag. So brought the United States flag and just design it. Our first constitution, for example.
I know we're running out of time and going to be a series of conversation because we want people to glue here. I'm getting texts here. Some are saying this book is controversial. Some are saying this book is revealing the true right of Liberia. What do you say?
Alfonso, we can't have on our history. I told you I came from the village of Sankwe. I was wearing khaki trousers with my little brother Mabudu Nyipan, holding your hands and taking to school. May his soul rest in peace. I did not born with a khaki with tie. I've elevated. I can't erase my history that I'm a Sapo man. Because I'm in the United States. So now when I speak Sapo, people say, oh, no, you're speaking too much Sapo. I don't know. I don't remember that I can speak Sapo. Because I'm in the United States for 25 years, I can speak Sapo. When I go to Sapo programs, I speak Sapo. When I go to Crown programs, I speak Crown. When I go to Crew programs, I speak Crew. I speak Bassa as well. I speak Talagio. So what's wrong with that? But we can't run away from our history. Those who are saying it's controversial are those who don't want to change the history. When we change the history, Alfonso, we will move forward. We must invest in Liberian education. Liberian writers must write Liberian history, Liberian geography, Liberian civic, in a way that our children will feel proud that they have a country. Those who want to run away from our past, we must write books on the Civil War. What led to the war? What happened after the war? Our people are resilient. So when a generation leaves, and another generation comes, our people have things to refer to. But when we just accept, let's just move on because we are one people, it does not solve the problem. I'm not talking about division. I think we must meet our history in a way that is revealing, so that when people are behaving like what happened in 1955, in 2022, the general will say, no, stop. This happened in 1955. And also when we read that on April 12th, military boys who were not educated, who were not aware, like us, overthrew a government and murdered 17 officials of that government on claim of corruption, misuse of power. When we read that in December 1989, a group of red tag rebels invaded Liberia and subsequently murdered the president for corruption. If our children were reading that, if government minister, the guy would have decided to bring a far-seated Mercedes-Benz home, my wife would say, no, Kai, don't do that. Your friend then died for that. The children said, Dad, we don't want to be bothered with that. Your friend died for that. But because we are not aware, so we verified, we reinforced behaviors that brought shame and disgrace to our country. And when you tell me it's controversial to discuss that, then I will say, you don't let the Liberia want to see in the future. With the change we want in Liberia has come. The change is here. Look at those in the House of Representatives. They are my classmates. The Speaker, the President Pro Tempore, and our LU together. We serve on the Provisional Student Leadership Committee. See what I'm saying?
The right is
so all the guys in government are our friends. They're from same soup.
Same soup. They were activists. There were people that were releasing those releases used to drop LU university
for change in
of
Liberia.
the government.
They are there.
They are in government now.
So when you are there, why the change you want anymore? There's no time to criticize. Because we criticize too much. And that's also my contribution. And I'm waiting. I've been traveling around the United States, as you know, going to universities and colleges, talking about the book. And I told most of the libraries I go to, put my book right here. I don't say do anything with it. Keep it on the shelf. If somebody read about Africa and Liberia, let them read their perspective. That's academic work. And I'm receiving a lot of reaction. People who think it's controversial, let them write antitheses. Let them write an opposition against the book. And say, let's stay the course. But the people in Ghana are moving forward. Our children do not know Liberian history, but wanted to learn African history, American history. When I was in Liberia, I learned about snow. Well, 25 years ago, before I could even see snow in the United States. So what can talk about South African forests? So our forests will read about forests. Well, what Ghanaians are doing. Why? Ask yourself. After 1847, why are we taking people to Ghana for treatment? We had the best medical school in the country, in Liberia. Why are we taking them? Because we don't want to invest in ourselves. We wait for government. Because you say to criticize government, then criticize yourself. My sociology teacher told me, the looking glass self, Alfonso. I'm not just here to sell books. We want to get the books in the hands of Liberians at little or no cost. We want to know their history. So now when the Ghanaian friend asked them, that my daughter, I gave her the book to read. She grew up here in the United States. She now said, oh, Daddy, and I know the history. She discussing it with her friends when she go to school. We're talking American history. But we are not able to talk about our own history. We're not here to talk about our own history.
So let me ask you this question here. We are hearing information reaching out with the Ministry of Education Authority regarding this book.
We are holding consultation. I want to leave it at that. But it will benefit our people. And first, I just completed the second manuscript of the second book on Liberia.
Do you care to tell us how you're going to look like?
No, we will discuss that when it comes. I'm sending it for peer review by this weekend. Because I want professionals, my peers, like what I did to this book, to look at it and make suggestions, make critique. Because Alfonso, I'm not stopping here. This is a mission to get back to Liberia.
What are you holding? What is your ultimate endpoint in what you are doing right now?
To create awareness. Because the problem with our country is that we don't have the awareness. So those who are not aware, we accuse them of engaging in behavior that inappropriate. But when we create the awareness, when they are aware of themselves, we will change the country. We can change the country by criticizing people.
Okay. Well,
what we did, let me see what we did in Liberia. Samuel Doe came to power with your son unaware. He went to school. A thought process change. Even though he had a military dictatorial policy, they were my boss. But he was aware. Let's get the people the awareness, Alfonso. Since they show the light, so that those who are in the darkness will follow. My goal, Alfonso, for the rest of my life, is to be a Liberian as I've always been. To live and talk Liberia. The passport that brought me in this country. The country has done more for me. It is my time to do more for them. I joined government when I was 18 years old. Spent 2 decades in government. Spent 3 terms with 3 administrations as chief of staff. I was executive director for telecommunication policy. I became a journalist.
Can you still return to government?
No, I don't think to be so. I tend to be with the African style. To be with the people I love. Like I told you, I wanted to always leave government to go to Sun Times. I'm a journalist. There's more we can do as journalists, Alfonso. There are young. There are young people, Alfonso, that we can mentor. We can always be there. I don't criticize those who want to live with government until they die. I don't want to be so. I want to get all of that opportunity. They are qualified people than I do. But I can provide consultancy if the country needs me, free of charge. Not opposition research. That the academic book is that's in your hand. I love Liberia. And I want to live Liberia, Alfonso. So their book is a testimony of what I believe in our country. I ask our colleagues in the diaspora who have the expertise to write about our country. That is not my bibliography. I'm not biography. I'm not writing biography, Alfonso. I'm writing academic work that can be used in schools. And I hope our Liberian schools will benefit from the series of books I'll be writing. And we're trying to provide an inclusive. That book is inclusive. I told you what happened with the American Colonization Society and what did not happen. What happened with A. Doris Ben Henry books and what did not happen. How people who were suppressed are natives. When they joined the secular government, they became more suppressive, including the commissioner in Zwed Grand County that you read about in there. The commissioner in Nima that you read about in there. The resilience of the people in Lufa. How the people in Grand County, before they can come to Monroe, they had to provide a passport. The slave trade in Sino. The education system, where our government was sending people to the United States to go to school who were not high school graduates. It took the dean at the University of California to tell our Secretary of Instruction, Mitchell, start sending people who are high school graduates to the United States. When he told Tubman said, you know what we're going to do? We'll create a pathway for those who did not graduate from high school. When they get to the United States, they will attend high school, then they go to college, then they do master degrees. I said they were the only people that's able to go to school. The discrimination in school system. Why the teachers in Webo were receiving $10 per month? Those in BW are receiving $150 a month. We need to close that gap. That's our history. It may be difficult to talk about. It may be traumatizing. But Alfonso, we keep changing our history. To know our history is to know ourselves. And I'm prepared, Alfonso, that I'm doing traveling around the country. I can use a platform for any discussion. Intellectual discussion. That discussion that insult people without merits. This is the only forum that I came on to. Because I know it will be an intellectual exchange.
Why this forum?
I trust this forum. Not because I'm part of this forum. I know you are independent. You are holding me accountable with questions. Your listeners will be able to digest what I'm saying. You are not interrupting me. I'm telling my story of what I wrote. And I'm looking forward to seeing if our government will give us the students the opportunity. They'll not be doing me a favor. They'll be doing Liberia a favor. If the book is taught in Liberian schools, people are worried about the cost. There are folks who are saying, and let me be a full disclosure, Emma Babula, for example, saying when the book is taught in Liberian school, I'll buy hundreds of books to send home. And I'm available. That I told most of the people in Liberian schools who will want to build an online platform. I'm willing to teach this book. I'm willing to teach it systematically. And I tell my friends who bought the book, read the book in context. Don't read the book in text. Don't come from chapter 1 when one friend told me, he said, you're on chapter 17. I just jumped to chapter 17. I said, no, you are doing. I said, you are doing this 17 yourself.
Yes, a disconnect right there.
I said, the book is too big. You're doing this 17 yourself. I can send your $20 back to you. And I did. I said, keep the book, but you're doing this 17 yourself. Give it to somebody else.
I saying, this book is big.
It is too big. Because at first we don't want to make efforts.
We're lazy.
Because we are not reading, so we allow Romans to take control of our country. At first, I don't hold discussion with people who tell me they say. If you tell me something, tell me who said it. So they say Kaiwule is difficult. No, I'm not difficult. If you can't tell me who told you, don't tell me. I'm not at the level to entertain gossip. My time is well pressured. So, Alfonso, people will consider controversial who do not want to read the history of the past. Who want to beat on government officials, but not on themselves. You make 100,000, 50,000 in the United States. What are you doing in Liberia to change lives? So because at first, if you read the 1850 Act, you will know that food insecurity was created by the 1850 Act. The natives were barred by law. No claim could plant a crops, cash crops. The natives were allotted 25 acres of land per claim. And my geographical friend will agree. We engage in shifting cultivation. We make farm here, we make farm here, we make farm here. So the premium.
I hate to put people on the spot here, but I have someone here who is watching here. Is this Honorable Wallen Kegley, the former representative of Grand Union County? He's the one that you are talking about.
Yes. So, Alfonso, we have a country where we're planting rubber, cocoa, coffee, and we're not planting rice. We depend on a PF480 rice project through the United States. Doe came, he canceled it because he said the people want their money. You get the people get your money. He said, pay feed and rule. He said, you pay military. He said, we pay America back. So people make all the noise. How many of them have a farm? I can declare here, Alfonso. My wife and I are engaged in agriculture in Sino. In my father's farm called Kaiwule. Anybody in the Kabade area can go there. We're building houses in Monrovia. That's our country. People on the farm have been paid wages that are equivalent to their wealth and their skills. So all of us can do that. We will reduce food insecurity. But when everything will be centered around the government, we're forcing our country. Most of them are sanctioned. They can't even leave the country. The legislation should be able to attract investors. They are my friends. In Philadelphia today, we do not have our economic counselor who was assigned here. Since he got transferred to London, there's no trade representative in Philadelphia, but one investment to go. Our people come to the United States. They don't call meetings to discuss what to do in Liberia. They parade the African clothes. I said we are having a beauty pageant. This is wrong, Alfonso.
They are your friends, colleagues.
I talked to them.
They were in the you all were in the vanguard.
We're in the vanguard. The generation has failed.
Have they disconnected from the vanguard?
They have disconnected.
They
allow wealth.
Are you disappointed on that?
I'm not disappointed. I think they can be rehabilitated. When they leave job, there will be opposition. When they lose their appointment, there will be opposition. They had to recycle themselves in Liberia. But we'll create the awareness. Say, you guys, you were in this ministry a long time, post office. You didn't do anything now. You suffer Kaiwule. You say you won't be representative for Sano County. Who can carry you? The people are aware. We can reward bad behaviors. The way we can do that is to teach our people skills.
We're going to hold it there. This is going to be a long conversation here. And you as a media expert, and I like how the media too, we were put on the spot. A lot is unfolding. 3 major elections are here. When I go on our website, the NNC website, not much. But when you go on INEC, the Nigeria national elections, their elections is in February the 25th. The date, the time, the second. Every Nigerian, they can track down where their voting process, the status of their voting process on a daily basis. We need to tap more in your expertise as we dive through this book. And hopefully you're going to make time available, because from all indication, it is proven now there are so many unique ways of giving back to the country. And that's what we are having.
And I'm not cutting you. What I'm trying to say here, it is first read a book on the 1955 elections. They will see the problem in the election commission today. It happened in 1955. And there were recommendations in the book on how to resolve the problems of our education. The end of the book that we'll come to later in another series. From the laws of liberty to the law of liberty for all. If you go to a doctor and you are sick, that we call physicians here, or primary care physicians, or care providers. They diagnose your case, do all the tests. Then they give you a prescription to take to the pharmacy. They say this work over the years. With people with similar problem, it will work on you. It will cure your problem. So when I'm providing, Alfonso, these are our problems. At the end of the book, I provide solutions that work in other countries, that can work in Liberia. People maybe say, I've criticized William Tubman. Tubman was the one who provided the highest level of policy in Liberia. When he hijacked the policy, they could not implement it. After putting it out, he held it to his chest. Don't implement it. Those policies are on the books. If we begin to read, I believe in Liberia, Alfonso. I love Liberia. I love my country. And I will do everything for Liberia. That's where my heart is. That's the country that made me.
How long it took you? When do you remember when you decided doing this book? How long it took you to conclude this book?
2 decades ago. When I arrived in the United States, I was able to bring some of my materials that I have, my books. Friends were able to send my materials to me because, I fled the country, so I could not bring anything much. But I have good friends.
Good friends.
Who were able to send the work over across the country, and then they came to me. I have some flight drive. So it took me 2 decades. But it narrowed down to 2 decades of research. Well, first of all, what I try to do is not to castigate anybody in that book. As a student of law, I'm aware of the consequences of saying things about people that are not true. My Catholic professor, I went to a Catholic school. And I'm glad that I went to 2 of the best Catholic universities in the United States. The Washington Trinity University, that I received my master's in public affairs. I went to the Jesuit University in Philadelphia, the St. Joseph University. And Alfonso, what I've learned from those universities, Alfonso, is to argue with the authors. You don't just argue and say, no, you're wrong. So what I provide in that book, I'm not answering the question, what? I'm answering the question, how it happened. So for every discussion I provide examples. But my professor Pat, my high school teacher, Petra Lena, told me, Kai, when you paper the book, when I was a when you paper the book,